searching the bishop, and I be
So, Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss are two shows that I'm quite vocal about my disdain for, at least to friends. There are many, many problems that these shows have that just make them very hard for me and many others to enjoy. From the characters constantly reverting to zero, to the shocking lack of maturity for adult shows, to the lackluster humor, etc., etc. There are a lot more problems that I could talk about in length, but the one aspect I want to focus on for this video is the character designs. Now, Vivzi's art style itself isn't bad. I think the art in the two shows is completely fine, even if it's not my cup of tea. What I do have a problem with, however, is the way she designs her characters. Now, I'm not alone in that opinion. Her designs are very divisive, though I feel that many of the conversations that address the problems often have very pointless arguments, which is quite sad considering there are genuine issues that could be addressed. So this video will be me discussing what I see wrong in Vivzipop's character designing philosophy and giving advice on how I think it could be improved. Before we start this, please keep in mind that all of this is just my opinion on the matter, and nothing I say is gospel. Especially when it comes to something as subjective as art. I may be an artist who's been creating for almost my whole life.
Nice
but I'm
artwork,
by no
man.
means a professional, and you have no obligation to agree with me on anything I say. What I may hate, you may love, and vice versa. And that's perfectly fine. We all have our own tastes.
Art in general.
I also want to say that this is not intended as an attack on Viv or to put her down. As much as I may dislike her work,
it's just criticism.
it would just be pathetic of me to just treat her like some unfixable loser over fictional designs, when in reality she's just a flawed artist whose fans deflect any criticism away from her ears. Hey, this is future Elgin here. I just need answers as to what the hell is going on. I see media exposing Vivzipop as a bad person, but then I also hear like the same amount of people saying that all the drama is over-exaggerated. Can someone just be the middle ground and tell me which one is more correct? Like,
I couldn't even help you, man.
This video is just meant to serve as constructive criticism in the hopes that maybe you guys, and by low chance Vivzipop herself, can learn from it and avoid any mistakes I point out in the future. Now with that out of the way, let's get to the main points. So to begin, we have one that's more of an issue of the medium that the shows are using, rather than the actual design quality. A lot of characters in the two shows either have lots of small unnecessary details or an excessive amount of colors that clutter the design, examples of which being Husk with his small wing patterns, and Beelzebub with her absolute color vomit of a design. By the way, speaking of Beelzebub, I will talk about her in length a lot later, just to let you know, okay? This in turn makes for characters that can sometimes be hard to discern certain important features from, as there are a lot of things on the design that fight for your attention all at once. However, that is not my main issue with the overdesigning. My main problem is the fact that these overdesigned characters are used in animation. As someone who does animations from time to time, I can say with full confidence that it is a nightmare trying to make even simple characters move in a way that does.
There's a reason for why sometimes animators just simply simplify everything. It's so much more easier and it makes things much more, it's just easier to animate much more simple figures as opposed to like overcomplicated ones. Not that you can't have any overcomplicated ones, it's just it's very difficult to animate them is all.
Doesn't make me want to get neck kisses from a noose. Adding so many needless details to designs can leave the animators in a fight for their sanity whilst trying to make it look consistently good. If you intend on doing something like comics or just plain illustrations sprinkled in a book, then you are allowed more liberty with detail as you have way less stuff to draw. But if you want to make characters for animation, you need to restrict yourself to much fewer additions to the designs for the sake of removing workload from the animators, or else you'll just add more additional stress to a job that's already brutal and underpaid in the industry.
Yeah, pretty much, sadly. Same body syndrome? What?
Now this is where we get to the parts that actively hinder the quality of these characters substantially. Same body syndrome is the issue where many characters have the exact same body type, with the only two categories being boy and girl. Now, this particular issue isn't actually too present in Hell of a Boss, as the body types do diversify quite a bit, and a lot of the times where they have similar body types.
Again, I'm just more so curious about this Hazbin Hotel as opposed to Hell of a Boss.
Actually makes sense. such as all the imps being short and stubby. That's completely fine. The issue does, however, have a massive presence in the main cast of Hazbin Hotel, which is really bad considering it's affecting the most important characters to the show. You've probably seen images of the primary gang as silhouettes and looking near identical to each other, aside from a few
Close enough to what I'm trying to show. That being
unique features on their heads. This is a major problem, just not for the reasons that most usually say. A lot of people say that it hampers diversity in the cast and makes them blend in a lot more. And while that is true, I feel that there's a much bigger problem at the hand. One of the biggest points I want to make with this video as I go on is that a character design is supposed to tell a story. It's supposed to tell the audience what kind of person
angelic associated with heart's blood of Eastern heritage. Criminal history, Edo period 2, related to the dead. What?
the character is without them saying a word, and convey the story that is to be told with the character. The same body syndrome, especially with more stylized artworks such as Visipops, dilutes a lot of that visual storytelling, leaving a lot to be desired. When every character in the main cast is this anorexic twink, it is a lot more difficult to get a grasp as to what you want to convey with the design. Alistair, for example, is supposed to be this charming yet threatening man who's foretold to be a horrid danger if not dealt with carefully.
Charming, not so much, but then again, he is trying to
and maybe even
have a smile.
Look, but all that's washed away with his sticks for limbs. Lucifer Morningstar is the king of hell himself. Sure, a very cheery, soft, supportive dad version, but still king of hell and a fallen angel at that as well.
Let's not get into the details of his character getting ruined in Season 2 because we'd be here for several hours.
You would expect a very big, intimidating, yet beautiful figure, and what we get is a malnourished circus ringleader.
I mean, I get the malnourished part, but the circus thing is very interesting. On the one hand, I get it, like having powerful figures and stature and everything, it does speak volumes, but on the other hand, it's like, if you have like certain characters that are like, you know, thin and everything, doesn't seem like a problem. Again, honestly, it would have been cool to have like Lucifer Beast's stick figure, like, because, you know, he fell from heaven, probably like super injured still, yada yada yada. Alistair could perhaps use with much more taller and possibly more wider build, I guess. So I can agree with that. But for Lucifer, I think he can just rock the whole tiny, frail look. When he gets serious, he can have like his angelic or demonic transformation, I guess. Make him more serious and threatening.
There's also a slight case of same face syndrome in both shows, as most characters either have a big toothy smile that looks copy-pasted on everyone who has it, or just grumpy and edgy looking. There's a lot more I could say on how poorly these designs convey the characters, but I will leave that for the next topic, which goes to it in a lot more detail and in a lot more ways.
Okay. Woobification, lackluster storytelling.
So this point is kind of a bunch of related points joined together, and it's also my biggest gripe with the designs by far. I could look past all the other problems and tolerate the designs were it not for the god-awful woobification of characters and overall poor conveying of them in both shows.
What does woobification mean?
Let's take Beelzebub, probably the worst designed character of the two shows and the perfect example of this issue, and dissect their form bit by bit. So, wipe your memory. Forget everything you know about this character and treat this like you've never seen her
know
before
her in the first
in
place.
Your life. And tell me, what does this design say to you? What does this design say about this character?
Lava lamp? Judging by the wings, probably some kind of fairy?
If I had to guess, most, if not all of you, would not at all say the sin of gluttony. There is
yeah. That's what she was supposed to be, right?
Nothing about this design that tells you she is gluttony personified.
True.
And any part of her that tries is far too weak to convey anything meaningful. Gluttony as a sin is an insatiable lust for food that can leave you eating your way to death if left unchecked. And all this design says to me is athletic party girl just entering her 20s. To be fair, she's...
You know what's very interesting? What was it? The angels, Emily and whatnot, and her sister had angelic forms. So you can easily write it off as just them kind of like having much more versatile and compressed forms, similar to those two and Lucifer. And when they get serious, it's like they transform into actual like demonic, otherworldly creature style forms. But if that's how they're sticking with it, yeah, I can see how it gets frustrating, if not absolutely annoying.
Also written that way in the show, but that's also a problem because, like, why the fuck would you write an ancient demon personifying a cardinal sin as some random high school thought? But
Random
now,
high
I
school
have
thought.
heard one argument where she looks that way because she's supposed to lure you into committing the sin by looking like this ideal version that doesn't suffer any of the problems that the sins should cause. And you know what? I would definitely think of that as good character design. If that was the intent. You see, I don't actually believe that point to be the case because of one thing. Vivsipop gave an explanation of B being skinny because of her lava lamp stomach burning away any calories. And that would be just such a pointless thing to give an explanation to if all you were trying to do was just make her an ideal version to lure people in. Which is why I believe that that wasn't even the intention. Beelzebub is just poorly thought out in terms of her Beelzebub design. Because the whole lava lamp thing in general is the only thing conveying anything close to gluttony. And it does such a pitiful job at it.
Lava lamps for gluttony? I don't even see that as a genuine design, good design as opposed to for gluttony. How the hell do you see that?
She has no signs of being eternally hungry or being a deranged junkie like you would expect from a demon representing gluttony. And it just makes her feel like she was designed without her very character in mind. Another point I want to make, also using B as an example, is that she has absolutely no intimidation or disgusting nature, despite her high yet horrid status in hell. When you hear of a higher rank demon being the embodiment of a sin of any kind, you would expect something terrifying, a dangerous feeling, maybe even grotesque.
I mean, again, that's pretty much going into the design and idea of the story. Plus, let's not forget, if we're going like the full Warhammer 40k route, I highly doubt they'd be going the full, charming, cool looking character route. I get it, it's just that's how they stick with it, and that's how they're gonna keep it.
Depending
at
on
the end
the
of the
sin.
day.
And yet, the Beelzebub and her fellow sins are extremely underwhelming in that regard. None of them feel very horrid or powerful like they should, and rather just like another demon you'd see across the street. In fact, the sins feel very cutesy and woobified for what they're supposed to be. I've heard people saying, why are people hating on B? She's so cute. When that's the problem. I shouldn't find someone representing something so disgusting to be cute at all. It feels as if Vivsipop was just so scared shitless to draw anything genuinely ugly or creepy, and it only worsened their designs as a result. And this is the biggest issue with the characters in the show. The designs of so many of them convey nothing or just not enough of what they're told to be. And it's only worsened by the fact that they're always drawn so cutesy or childishly, clashing with the supposedly serious, demonic tone of the story.
Honestly, you're just reading into it too much at this point. I get it, the whole ordeal is serious, but they conveyed it so, non-dark and edgeless, for lack of a better term, that at this point I'm not even surprised if they stick with the whole idea. Like, if we're going full, like, dark themes, they flopped, like, in the pilot all the way down. Yeah, they did flop it in the pilot. Like, Alistair was kind of spooky, but not much in terms of, like, offering scares. Like, aside from that one scene where he, like, tried to jump scare people, he was not... He pretty much lost it. Like, afterwards, it's just like, silly, goofy guy.
Alistair barely looks like a serial killer or like a radio demon, and he's about as scary as the tiny lizards I see scampering across my kitchen. Lucifer looks more like he runs a circus than he does hell. And for
I mean, I kind of liked it, though. And what did it say before that?
Lucifer looks more like he runs a circus.
So I have heard that Lucifer and the Sins are meant to be based on circus performance. I would have no problem with that if they still felt like demons at all. Yeah.
Than he does hell. And for a fallen angel with the balls to go against his brethren, he looks frail and spineless. Angel Dust's web
and he gets turned into that in season 2.
Such an obscure term to use that no one will understand without...
Wait, what's the term?
Brethren. He looks frail and spineless. Angel Dust's web of crime symbolism is such an obscure term.
Wait, that's why he's a spider? Web of crime. Man, that is so cheesy and corny. Wow. I had no idea that was what they were trying to reference. I couldn't even catch that. I just thought it was just a spider for the sake of a spider. Okay, then.
To use that no one will understand without using the wiki. And it's done so poorly that I just legit thought he was a fluffy guy and not even a spider.
Yeah.
Ozzy looks and feels more like some passionate pole dancer I found on the street rather than a high-rank demon representing the sin of the toxic addiction to sex itself. No one looks like how they are, with very few exceptions, and whatever presence they're supposed to have is watered down by how ooh-woo cutesy they are. Hey, this is Future Elgin here again, and I just wanted to give about 3 additions to the main point because I feel it's a bit incomplete without them.
Okay.
One being, I don't entirely hate these designs because they look good. They look great even. Like, they have really nice color theory, really great features and shapes. Like, they just look...
Look, I get it, though. Like, in terms of, like, actual design and everything, yeah, they're baller. They have, like, bright colors, very aesthetically pleasing. Not... Well, Beelzebub is a bit overwhelming on the eyes, but still not exactly that bad when it comes to the other characters. I get it. It's just so much more what they convey in terms of body shape, body... size and everything. You know, it's much more how exactly they fit their description. You know, when you say the radio demon, you expect something to be like a radio host, something like that, but it just doesn't convey it with Alistair. I get the criticism, you know, like the design doesn't convey the character in a sense. The design is baller, it's just it's not good when it comes to the character himself and what he's supposed to be.
Good. The only thing I hate is just how they're used, is how they're just really bad at portraying the characters that they're trying to be. If they weren't for those things, if they were for something entirely original or just completely different, I think they would have been fantastic. It's just the story that they're used in that makes them a problem. Speaking of which, I also feel we should discuss a bit more about the context in which these character designs are used in. My prime example being Lucifer Morningstar. Now, while he is the king of hell, he's also meant to be this more modernized, soft-hearted version, and as opposed to other depictions of him that we see most of the time. And he also has a daughter of all things that he loves and supports. And because of that, we should design him a bit differently to how we usually do it. Just because he's the king of hell does not mean that he has to look barbaric or like he's in flaming armor or like the final boss of a Soulsborne game.
Nor in Doom.
That doesn't work in the context in which he's being used. We can add stuff like suits, bow ties, or just make him look more friendly in general, so long
I can see it.
as he still looks like Lucifer. we can have a slightly subverted version of the source material so long as it still feels at least a little bit like the source material.
I mean, they were trying much more or less to focus on the source material and more so like their own spin on it. I think they focused more on the angelic components of Lucifer as opposed to the demonic components. Which I guess, yeah, if he's a fallen angel, like, but at the exact same time, interestingly enough, in something like Devilman, they focused on Lucifer being like an actual angel, still angelic with the whole wings, light shining from his body or something like that. You know, like an actual angel as opposed to demonic. Which I guess could have been an interesting point, like have an angel with demonic elements or a demon with angelic elements. It's weird. It's not exactly something I can like consider how exactly I would redesign.
Otherwise, we'll just have this completely new character that isn't at all like what we were originally trying to depict. It'll just have the original source material by its name and only that. And that's the problem with Vivzi's character designs. A lot of the characters, especially some of the more religious-based ones like Lucifer or the Sins, just feel like their entire original source material was washed away and just added with new features that could have worked if we just kept the sources. We could have added the suit and the hat and all the snakes and stuff to Lucifer if we didn't just wash away anything that made him feel like a fallen angel or like a king of hell. We could have given all the changes that the Sins had to them if they weren't washed of anything that made them look like the Sins.
Yeah,
that's
pretty much.
the problem. That is not good character design because these are not the characters that we're trying to depict. These are completely new things that just have their names. That's
in some cases, yeah.
Good. One last thing I want to discuss before we get to the final overview. It's just the fact that the transformations themselves just feel so goddamn boring.
Transformations?
Like, for example, Luna gets a transformation in one of the latest episodes.
Oh, wow.
All that happens is that she just goes on all fours and gains a few extra eyes close to where her already existing ones are.
That's kind of
Alistair
bland.
too, he just gets bigger horns and just grows a few feet. Like, that is so lame.
Yeah, if anything, his transformation in the song was way more awesome. As opposed to the one he got when Lucifer was introduced.
You have whole demonic characters, and you do almost nothing with their transformations where they show their true colors or just get more aggressive. Like, if you're gonna do something demonic, give them eyes where they shouldn't be, like the fingers or the hands or the mouth.
Yes, for example,
give me
for
fingers
Astro Deer-esque beast with its brain
so much that they look like a deranged porcupine.
Sticking out and being covered in radio pieces.
Their eyes, or just putting them in the arms. Like, give me something.
Yeah,
man.
that's a baller design. Not gonna lie.
This is the lamest possible outcome you could do.
But again, you just described the whole ordeal of like simplifying it for drawing, and that just feels like extra time for a transformation that would like get used like what, once, maybe twice. Not much to go there, huh?
With demonic transformations, you claim all these characters to be so badass or cool, and this is what you do with them. This is it. That's bullshit. I'm not gonna lie. It's bullshit.
Bullshit.
Also, I haven't slandered the angels enough. I've mainly just been talking about the demons. So, the executioners just look like some emo band boys. Like, what is this character design? This is awful.
Yeah, I agree with that. They do look like band boys.
With that, we've gone over all my main issues with the character designs, and can now make an overview of everything discussed. So from taking all the points and putting them together, one thing is very, very clear. Vivzi Pop is reluctant to use her own premise to its fullest, or in this case, even a decent bit. For a story based in the dimension of eternal suffering and agony, the characters feel
again kind of not really what they're following,
none of the characters
unfortunately.
feel like real demons or angels because they're
Like,
so watered down
actually.
in terms of any of the ugly or horrid stuff that makes them that. So many opportunities to make truly vile, demonic characters all went to waste as Vivzi just settled to make cutesy furries and scrunklies and passing them off as demons because they swear a lot or just have horns. This doesn't end at character designs either. The world building, the childish humor, and overall writing paint this very sterile, safe version of hell and demons that ends up feeling more like some Broadway-style city than actual hell.
My guy, that's pretty much the point of the show. Like, they've never shown anything close to, like, genuine torture in hell. Like, the whole ordeal of redemption is there, but afterwards it's just that. They don't even go into, like, genuine, like, aside from Angel, which the whole ordeal with him is, like, he's a hooker, and he also goes out of his way to be, like, addicted to drugs and everything. He's also being heavily abused, but aside from him, no one else has these issues. Maybe Husk, but Husk is so, like, leniently or so little shown to be abused, except that one time with, again, Lucifer's introductory episode. It's so weird that it's just pretty much non-existent there. They want to, it's essentially literally just, they want to have their cake and eat it, but at the exact same time, no, more so like, they're chasing two hares but get neither, in a sense.
It feels as if VivziePop was only concerned about using hell because it was edgy enough to make her show seem mature, rather than because she actually was interested in reinterpreting the infernal realm in any cool way. This is why many people call Hell of a Boss and Hazbin Hotel fan fictions of themselves, because they feel more like a shipper who's ignoring the dark undertones of the media they're using in order to just write about their favorite characters kissing, which there's a lot of in the two shows. Heaven and hell are only those places by color and names alone,
and design,
us as the
to a degree,
with an empty husk of what could have been. So the lesson
I mean,
want
yeah,
you guys
it's
to take
shallow,
from this video
like
is that if you
very
want to have a
scarily
premise,
shallow.
Commit to the premise. If you're going to set a story in hell, make the place feel like hell. If you're making a story set in somewhere disgusting and vile, make the place feel disgusting and vile.
So I checked, like, it's 9 months ago, and season 2 was already shown and announced, and I pretty much watched through it. So yeah, just gonna tell him right now, they didn't even stick to it. They just dumped it in the trash and just did their own thing. At this point, it really is just the High School Musical style for hell.
A world isn't just to make the story have a vibe. It's also a stage that the characters have to follow the rules of. And if you do just whatever you want with your characters without considering the world that they live in, you end up with an incoherent mess, with a world that doesn't know what it wants to be and shapes itself around the characters rather than the opposite like it should. Again, none of this is meant to be hate towards VivziePop.
The fact that you have to specify it is just kind of frustrating.
I'm only doing it to just show the full impact that these flaws have on the shows.
You should have every right to criticize
this. I just want the best
this
for stories like these, and want to provide lessons to anyone aspiring to be like Viv. So if by any chance you're watching this, Vivzie, I want you to understand that while, yeah, you do get a lot of unnecessary hate and toxicity aimed at you,
allegedly,
there are a lot, and I mean a lot of voices,
wow, 1.1 million
genuine
views.
Issues with your
Maybe
show
she did see it.
that you shouldn't just ignore. The worst thing an artist can do is treat themselves like there's nothing needed to be fixed, because all you're going to do is stagnate and never become more than what you already are. So please, hear some voices out and just hear their gripes with your media and see if there's anything you can do to change that. And that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you all for watching thus far if you have, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope any of you can take something away from what I've made and can hopefully improve on any story or art that you might be trying to do at the moment. This is my
I'll take it into
scripted
consideration
video ever, and I have to say it was really nerve-wracking trying to make something like this, especially since I've never done something to this scale before. Yeah, I hope that you guys got to take something away from this, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Lucifer in my own story. Just a stick figure there. It's hilarious.